Good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Customer Service. My name is Jeremy Watkin. I'm here representing Phone.com because it's a Phone.com Friday, and also Communicate Better blog with my blogging partner in crime, who's sitting in our office. I actually moved to another location. She was kind enough to offer, but I went ahead and moved. Jenny, how's it going? What are you drinking over there?
Good, good. Thanks for letting me get the office to myself for a few moments. I got some coffee. I'm finishing up the rest of my morning brew. It's a little cold now, but it's going to be almost 90 degrees today, so that's okay.
Oh wow. Jealous.
Yeah, we're looking at 20 degrees over normal here in Southern
Yeah,
California.
it's going to
Oh
be
my gosh.
good.
Yeah, I'm looking outside. I think it's about 40
Oh,
here in Indy.
Yeah,
where
we're
that?
here with our special guest, Mitch Causey from, I hope I said your last name right. I probably asked you that last time.
You did great.
Awesome. From Lessonly, lesson.ly.
You got
Mitch,
it.
how's it going? Cold?
It's going great. Yeah, it's warmer than we have been, so that's good. I guess I can fill in I am drinking
Mm,
water out of a cheesy mug with a straw. So
I like your mug. That's awesome. I got a big, yeah. It's all
oh
about,
yeah.
You can see mine in the background there, Jenny, if you could
oh
bring it
yeah,
in.
the red thing back there.
Oh nice.
I'm going green tea, so I'm right in the middle of you guys.
Mm.
A really
Very nice.
watery, caffeinated beverage.
Love it.
So yeah, Mitch, it's been like a year, right, since we did our last hangout with you, and
I was gonna say it feels like it's been a year, which is way too long.
so
Yeah.
for we typically get like one viewer on these hangouts, so for that one viewer, maybe can you fill us in on what you guys do at Lessonly, um, and then what's changed in the last year for you guys?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so like Jeremy said, I represent a company called Lessonly. We are the easy training software. So what we do is help customer service teams, especially sales teams, especially, and then also HR teams who are onboarding a lot of people. Um, Really get their teams up to speed quickly and keep them there by allowing them to build training out very easily, share it very easily within the same app, and then most importantly, measure that training and measure the success of who's learning what, how, when, and how well, and really being able to tie that into uh, your business KPIs and really show the value for training and how that actually improves your business.
So what's gone on? Anything changed in the last year? Well, I think last time we talked, you guys had like 4 employees. That might be low, but
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Yeah, a lot has changed. Yeah, I think we had 4 employees when we talked last time. Now we're up to 16.
wow.
Uh,
Oh,
uh, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We've onboarded some really, really, really great people who are just absolute rock stars. If you guys ever get down to Indy, we'd love to have you into the office and hang out with us live in person. Um, but yeah, so people-wise, we've grown. We have definitely grown in our customer base. We have onboarded companies like Lyft, the
Oh,
car service.
mhm.
They train a bunch of their drivers using Lessonly. We've got Angie's List. They train a lot of their service providers. One that's a little bit closer to the HR world is Bamboo HR. Um, Gosh, who else? ModCloth, Jenny, you might like ModCloth.
I've heard of it. Oh.
Yeah, their customer service team trains with Lessonly. So yeah, lots of really, really great companies are finding the value and really putting training higher on their priority list, which obviously benefits us, but more importantly, actually benefits those people who are learning and growing in their jobs, which is what we really get excited about. Um, so let's see what else. And then in terms of functionality, we've grown a lot in that regard as well. We have integration with Salesforce now, so you can actually tie um, your measurable uh, training metrics into Salesforce directly, and that can happen all automatically. Let's see, what are some other big ones? It's been a long year. I think last time we talked, and probably last time you guys saw the product, you could essentially create lessons, and they were not necessarily organized in the best way. And we have since then released a couple different iterations of courses. So now you can create a collection of lessons and create a course and actually, make sure that people follow the course and the exact path that you want and things like that. So really had quite a bit of improvements. I'm sure I'm not doing it the justice it deserves, but yeah, lots of growth, lots of fun, and still happy to continue growing.
Wow, that is so exciting.
Yeah, that's great.
So we wanted to pick your brain a little bit about onboarding. Maybe Jenny can fill you in on some of the hiring we've been doing here. And Jenny, what are some of the challenges you faced in trying to bring a team of agents up to speed really fast? Maybe fill in a little background there.
Okay. Well, we're based, we have our customer service in San Diego. We have some of our team in Oregon, but we hired 4 new customer service agents in Newark, New Jersey. We also have an office there. And those 4 agents, because there is no other customer service reps out there, or managers, because I moved back because I don't like winter time. But basically, we had 1 week. Our budget was send a manager or supervisor out there 1 week, get them trained on everything, and hope for the best, kind of. And so planning, condensing a training that usually for our agents that are in-house, it's 2 to 3 weeks maybe, making it into 1 week was like the most just craziest challenge. And you want to make sure that these agents are set up for success and that they're going to have the resources and tools that they need to succeed in their jobs, and also helping out customers and making sure that they're a good fit for the team, and just so many things crammed into one. And it was really challenging, and I kind of chose to do it more of like a classroom type setting, using Apple TV and using things, lessons, and going through different hands-on training. And so it was kind of, but it's like, how do you know if that's right, and how do you measure that that was the best training you could give them, and was it even efficient doing it in 1 week, or could it have been done better, and what can we learn from this if we ever have to do it again? And it was just quite an adventure, I like to say, because it was a lot of stuff. I mean, every company has their user manual, and everyone has to know certain things, but it's like, then I'm there teaching them, and then I leave, and all they have is instant messenger to reach out to everyone back in San Diego, and they're kind of just on their own. And luckily they're a great, motivated team, and they're able to stay focused and do what they got to do. But it's like, you got to hire for that. It all starts with the hiring the right people, and gosh, there's just so many elements with all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the scary part is I don't think that you're alone in that. We've got about 100 companies that are feeling that same pain, and it is a lot. And especially if you do have to have all that done in a week, and then it takes a week out of your time because you had to go back there rather than being at home, and I'm sure you stay at a hotel or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a very, very common occurrence that all those things you're feeling. So I can talk to a few points, and feel free to stop me whenever. Um, but okay, so one part I'll kind of start with what happens after training that I think is possibly the most important part, that we've seen help relieve anxiety in people even when they go into training. So the that really big part that we see that people like is being able to access training after the fact, and to refresh themselves after the fact. So what I mean by that is, and it's going to be hard for me to not sound like I'm selling Lessonly the whole time, but I'll just make it generic. So if you're using training software, whether it's Lessonly or someone else, or I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do this, a lot less efficient, like Google Docs or whatever you technically could do it. But just having a knowledge base somewhere that people can access after the fact really helps the trainer go into it knowing that I don't have to be perfect this entire week, because afterwards, if people have questions, they can access this knowledge base, and I don't have to be answering this instant messenger all the time, kind of a thing. So that is one of the greatest value points that we give as a software. But like I said, I mean, you can implement it in a number of ways. But it's one of the biggest things that we see that removes some of that anxiety is having a place that after the fact people can check out. What that looks like in Lessonly is not a whole lot different from just, even if you only used Lessonly for the initial training and people never looked back, you wouldn't do anything differently necessarily, which is nice. But what you can do is Lessonly is completely searchable. So if your reps go in later and say, what did they say about our phone system? And they can type in phone system, and then it'll highlight everywhere where it says phone system in in all the lessons that they have access to. So so that's one thing that is really helpful for onboarding, is knowing that you have that to back you up. Let's see. The next one that I'll talk about is measuring. So you said, how do I know that that's the best way? How do I know that the people actually understood what I was talking about? How do I know who is really getting it and who needs some help? And that's the measurability conversation a lot of times gets stuck on accountability. So a lot of people think that, well, I don't necessarily need training software or even just a system in place to track training, because I trust my people and I know that I hired people who are trustworthy, so I don't really care about holding them accountable as much, because I just know that they're going to do a good job. And that's great, and that's a lot how we operate as a company. We have very little policies. One of our only policies is that you have to take a spring break every year.
Hey,
Yeah.
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 we need to do something about that.
Exactly.
It's funny, when I graduated from college, my first year in the work world, I was like, oh shoot, I don't get spring break anymore. Make plans.
Yeah, totally.
Way to keep me alive.
Exactly. So, yeah, I just got back from Florida, and it was great because it's like spring break. But it was funny because my intern is on spring break right now, and he's in college, and I just got back from spring break, so it's kind of fun. But anyway, so that's one of our very few principles, because we trust everybody who works for us, because one, we're small enough to, and two, we know that like that's really critical in our hiring process. So, measuring training, whether you do it in a software or whether you do it offline with a printed quiz or something like that, is so critical. It does add accountability, but way beyond that, you get to understand who needs help and who doesn't. And that's really the biggest part, because a lot of people who take training will think that they got it, but they may not have actually got it, and they don't know what they don't know. So having a quiz, or like a pre-quiz and a post-quiz, or however you do it, some sort of way to measure. We like to do both quantitative and qualitative, so like A, B, or C, which is correct, and there is a correct answer, and then also qualitative, like just free response. Here's an open-ended question, and then based on how they respond, you can know if they understand the topic or not. And that really tells you, based on the things that you do know, who's really getting it and who's not. And then the decision is, okay, do we help these people get up to speed, and how long? And if they're still not getting it, then we kind of have those tougher conversations. But so that's a huge thing for us, is measurement. I can talk about a case study that we just released with ModCloth. So ModCloth onboards, I think it's like 30, I think it's around 30 people per class that they onboard, and it's a 2-week onboarding program. Really time intensive, lots of in-classroom training, and then now with Lessonly, a lot of online training, on your own time training as well. So using Lessonly, or before Lessonly, they actually created hand-built, printed quizzes, and it would take them on average about 4 hours for them to build those quizzes, print them off, pass them out, get the responses, and then enter those responses into a database of some sort, and wow, gather the insights. And it just took so long, and it was taking up so much admin time that they had to do something about it. So they implemented Lessonly, and with that they saved all of that time, because basically they could take those quizzes that they already had, remake them in Lessonly, which takes about 5 minutes, and then share them out to their team. And once they do that, then they don't have to keep tapping people on the shoulder, because Lessonly does that for you. It'll automatically re-email people if they haven't done it in a certain amount of time, or if they've gone past their due date. Just all sorts of functionality that saves that admin time. And so the cool thing was, one, they were still getting the same level, if not better, tracking than they had before. Two, they could provide that information to managers automatically, whereas before they would have to manually email managers over the people that they were measuring, and then because managers can have access, and even just specific people. And then finally, the coolest part is, because they saved all that time, they could actually bake more training into those 2 weeks. So rather than, so Jenny, like you were saying, it's like a 3-week time period, and you had to squeeze it all into 1 week. Imagine if you had this 3-week time period, and all of a sudden it went down to a 2.5-week time period based on the time saved with Lessonly. Rather than just going back home for that next few days, what ModCloth did was they actually took that time and added more strategic and like role-based training that they didn't have time for before, but they always wanted to do. So really cool stuff there in terms of measuring, and that really gives you the insight for who's doing what, and then it does also give you the insight into which questions or which pieces of training need to be improved. So if everybody across the board is failing on a certain question, then you may know that that wasn't covered well enough, and we need to add more training to that too. So I've been rambling for a while, but
All great stuff. It just
hopefully it's helpful.
shows, yeah, how much more efficient you can be with the onboarding process, how important it is for every company, no matter whether big business, small business, and how much really goes into it. And I can't believe ModCloth was doing their training like that old school way. That's like, gosh, so much time. It's crazy.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest challenges I think we face, and we're not using Lessonly, at least not yet. We probably should have switched in the last year, but that's
we won't hold it against you.
One of the biggest challenges, I think the references and the knowledge base or reference is so important. But in what we're using right now, and I think it's probably the same regardless of the tool you use. A lot of information gets outdated pretty fast. Mm-hmm. Whether it's marketing releasing a new website, or new features getting released, other features getting removed from the service, whatever process is changing. Have you guys found a solution other than just someone who owns it and is on the ball as far as making sure stuff stays up to date? How do you guys deal with that? And then kind of my sub question to that is, who typically owns the training in the organizations that you work with? Is it the manager? Do a lot of bigger organizations have training managers that's all they do is on board? Sure, in big call centers they do that. But I'd like to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, for sure. Two really great questions. The first one, we still don't have a great answer to, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, which is there's got to be somebody updating it, which is just the unfortunate fact. I think the closest we've come to a solution that seems to work pretty well is by using, so we have different roles in Lessonly. There's admins, managers, creators, and learners. And so basically you can have certain people who are creating content but aren't necessarily seeing how other people do on that content, and seeing all the information behind the scenes and stuff like that. So what seems to work well is, let's say, for you guys, if you guys have a new product release, there's somebody who has documented that somewhere. Maybe it's maybe it's your dev guys or your product team or whoever that is. And rather than making you guys be the ones that make sure that all that information is up to date, those people can actually have access to that content and keep it up to date for you. So obviously, definitely office politics at play there, depending on how well relationship you guys have with your product team and how important they view training on your guys' end. Obviously, some hurdles to jump over, but that is at least something where those people are going to be able to talk about it probably easier and faster for those new things than you guys will, so it saves time there. And then obviously, if you guys don't have to do it, you don't have to do it, which is great. And then the other cool thing is they can actually communicate those updates to you guys specifically in that way as well. So rather than them sending out an update in a PDF and then you guys updating it in Lessonly or something like that, they can actually just do it in Lessonly and share it with the whole company and update everybody at the same time. Again, not a perfect solution, but it's something.
No,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
Oh, no, it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I've found you probably run into this mentality, but tools. Lessonly has some amazing tools to help with training. I think one pitfall that companies run into, and not just with training, but with we run into it with project management and stuff like that. I think we expect the tool to solve our problem, but there's always hard work that is involved somewhere in there. That whether it's project management, and we think the tool is going to make it better, but all of a sudden we're back to having a gigantic list of projects where we don't know where to start. That sort of thing.
Yep.
I found that we do have a couple people on our team that are really motivated to keep our training up to date, and there's no substitute for those kinds of people that are willing to put in the hard work and maintain it.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, you're totally right. I mean, there's someone's got to swing the hammer, right? or at least pull the trigger on the nail gun. But yeah, that's another thing I just thought of when you said people on your team that are really interested in training. Another thing too is people below you on your team. So if you have a rep who notices something different using that creator role in Lessonly, you could actually have them create a lesson and share it with the team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. So we call it peer-to-peer training, and we do tons of that, especially on our sales team. On getting the new guys up to date and on board. Having the more senior sales team members, even though they're not managers, and it's not really their responsibility to make sure that everybody is up to speed. Obviously, everybody benefits, and so they're constantly creating new lessons and sharing it with the sales team to keep everybody growing and up to date and on board and all that. So
I will take the analogy a little further and just say that the way a lot of companies are doing training, where they're printing out quizzes and stuff like that, that is like using a screwdriver to hammer in a nail, when Lessonly is like using a nail gun. So
yeah. Love it. Man, I write a blog post about that or something.
There's no substitute around better tools and the right tools.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your second question there? I can't remember.
Ooh, my second question?
Oh, it was about who owns training.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up because it's actually one of our something we talk about a lot. One, from a marketing perspective, because we need to know who to sell to, but more importantly, just the trend that we see in training today that is just really interesting, and the next 5-10 years is going to be really interesting to see if this continues to play out. But one of the biggest parts of this conversation is company size, like you mentioned. So the large companies have dedicated training teams, and then typically smaller companies have not dedicated training teams. So basically everybody who's a manager is actually also responsible for training. But At the same time, even in those large organizations that do have training departments, what we've seen is um, the managers in other positions, especially customer service and sales, don't necessarily get the attention that they want or potentially deserve from the training department. And so we actually call ourselves the training software for non-trainers, because with Lessonly you don't need a degree in learning development, which is uh, which is very critical, I think, in some situations. Especially the larger the organization, you need to have that. Instructional design degrees are fantastic, and we try to teach our clients instructional design techniques as much as possible. But at the end of the day, to use Lessonly, all you need to know how to do is how to write an email. And we've made it that simple solely on the fact that there are teams outside of traditional training departments that also need training, but they don't have the time or don't want to play the politics and don't have the money to invest in the larger tools or to get that attention from the training department. And so who owns training traditionally in a larger organization? It's somebody who is in a training department. In smaller organizations, it is possibly the HR director, and it's probably tossed around based on whose plate wasn't the most full at the time. It's kind of how it goes. Yeah, so what we see is, we like to say that we're empowering managers of teams, especially customer service and sales, to help grow their team and help train their team, even if that's not technically in their title, because those people are still required to do that and benefit most from training their team.
Very cool. Well, this has been super helpful, Mitch. It's so great to connect with you and hear how you guys are doing. You guys are going to have like 100 employees next year when we talk, aren't you?
I hope so. We'll see.
That is awesome. Hopefully I know we talked about what industry type events are cool to go to. Hopefully we see you at one in the future and get to meet in person. I don't know
absolutely.
Next.
Yeah. We are. One of our guys is going to the customer experience conference in New York here at the end of this month, actually, put on by, I think it's like the conference board or something like that. And then I think we are actually going to attend the one that you said, the ICMI.
Oh, no.
Good.
Yeah. I think we'll at least be in attendance there. So looking forward to that as well.
You're going to the Orlando one?
I think so. If that's the one that's in, I think, June, maybe.
Yeah, it sounds right.
I don't know.
In Vegas in the fall.
Okay.
Maybe try and go to that one since it's on this side of the Mississippi.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, if I make it to Orlando, we will definitely meet up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much for joining, Jenny. Do you have anything else to add?
No, thanks. This was some great insight, good stuff to think about. Thank you, Mitch.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on, and as always, you guys are awesome, and look forward to keep talking.
Yeah, definitely. Have a terrific day.
All right, thanks. You too, guys.
Mm-hmm.